Hello students and welcome to the e-learning program initiated by Shri Gyan Manjri Vidyapeeth for the students of Standard 10, in which we are learning the subject of English. Students, today we are going to start with chapter number 7. Name of the chapter is Glimpses of India. Glimpses, just a view, just a small glimpse or just a small view of something. That's called glimpse. Now plural is used, glimpses of India. That means more than one view is being talked over here. So the chapter is divided into three smaller parts. Each part deals with one of the area or one of the region, important region of India. So that is why glimpses of India. So we'll be learning the different parts 7.1, 7.2 and 7.3. That is how we have named it. Otherwise it is part 1, part 2, part 3 internally. So let us learn the first part. 7.1, a baker from Goa. Baker is a person, his profession is to bake cakes, bread and all the other items that are made in a bakery. The person owning the bakery is called a baker. Rather, a person who bakes all these items in the store for the purpose of selling it, he's called a baker. So, a baker from Goa. It's written by Lucio Rodriguez. So, this is a pen portrait of a traditional Goan village baker who still has an important place in the society. The view that is given to us, what are we shown? We are shown a glimpse of a Goan village. Goan village, village of the one of the smallest state of India, that is Goa. Now, if we remember our history, we got independence in 1947 from the Britishers. But before the Britishers even touched the soil of India, we know Vasco da Gama, he discovered India, the route to India, sea route to India, way back in 1600 AD, and that is when the Portuguese came to India. After that, they came to India for the purpose of doing business, and from the Europeans, the Portuguese were the first to come via sea route from European country all the way down to the African tip of the southern tip of the African continent, that is Cape of Good Hope. From there they take a left turn, that is they sail along with the eastern sea coast of Africa. From Mozambique they take a direct route to Kerala. So this is how they reached over here in India for the purpose of doing business. As I have always maintained that whenever we are learning any chapter, whenever we are learning a new author, first we should understand the background of the author himself and the background that he wants to tell us. The background of the author is more important because the places that he has visited or he wants us to see with his eyes, that is more important, right? So he will be describing it in a very traditional way according to the custom and tradition of that place. So here we have Lucio Rodriguez telling us or trying to give us a glimpse of one of the small villages of Goa. Now Portuguese, when they came to India, they first came for trade and slowly established their colony over here. One of that colony was Goa. The Portuguese and the people of Goa, they gave a very mixed blend. Although the Portuguese people were ruling it, they did lots of construction work over there, and the people of Portuguese, they came for the business purpose and set up colony over there, made forts, and lots of other changes happened over there. And because of that, the culture, custom, tradition, all of that lifestyle of the Goan people, local people of Goa, that changed. Yes, so we see a totally different country, or we see a or rather great influence of Portuguese even today on in the people of Goa, how they live, how the way they eat, the way they live, the way, the standard of living, etc. There's quite a lot of change from the adjoining parts. That is, on one side it's Kerala, on the other side it's Karnataka and Maharashtra. But we see a stark contrast with the adjoining parts of Goa. So here the author is trying to give us a pen portrait of a Goan village. Pen portrait, we have studied that while trying to write the character of a certain chapter. For example, in the first chapter we have Maggie, although she's quite small. Tommy, he is also quite young. Then also we can have a question, draw a character sketch of one of the two children, that is Margie or Tommy. Or we have learnt in chapter number 4 and 5, say the disciple and the guru of the kingdom of the fools, right? So we are asked to write about the character, draw a character sketch of the king, or draw a character sketch of the disciple, or the character sketch of the guru. Character sketch means you have to describe in such a way that when a person is reading it, he can form the personality of the person. Pen portrait of same thing, either you draw a character sketch or you write a pen portrait. When we are reading up the pen portrait, the image of the picture should be clear in our minds. We should be able to form that picture. So when we are saying about a pen portrait of a traditional Goan village, the author, what he is trying to do is to create an image slowly. At the end of the chapter, you come to know the complete picture of that village and custom, tradition, whatever, here in this case. So a pen portrait of traditional Goan village, baker. So here he is trying to create an image in front of you which will help you, which will enable you to understand what a local village baker will be like. Yes. So we were talking about the Portuguese people, the custom, tradition, everything, the food habits, everything changed according to the Portuguese people over here. The local people were quite influenced about that. Now, we know that in India, especially in the south, if I'm talking about western India, then roti, chapati, that is a staple food, right? Chapatis, vegetable, rice, dal, that is our staple food. Now if we come to the South India, there different things that are made out of rice, or basically rice and dal, they are the that's the staple food of the people of the south. Whereas when you come to Goa, the staple food becomes bread. How is that? Because of the advent of the Portuguese over there. When the Portuguese came over there, they started all these bakeries, and because that was their staple food. Bread is the staple food of European countries. So when they came over here, then slowly lots of bakers also came over here and set up their small shops all over the state, and that is how the staple food of Goan people changed from their usual rice, and along with that they also started having bread because of the presence of Portuguese. So a baker became as a necessity because it was woven into the culture of the Goa. So what the author wants here to us to understand is what a traditional baker, a Goan village baker, will look like, what he does, and what is his importance in the life of the people, right? So we start the chapter. Our elders are often heard reminiscing nostalgically about those good old Portuguese days. Now, reminiscing nostalgically, they keep on. If we here also, it's the same thing, right? When your grandfather, grandmother, or great grandfather or great grandmother, if they're present over there, it's a very good thing in the family to have these old people, wise people with us. They are always caring, taking care of the family, giving lots of advice, suggestions, opinions. So the younger generation has to learn a lot of them. But when we are talking with them, they many times go back in a flashback that when we were young, these things used to happen. So that is called reminiscing. Yes, trying to remember the good old days. Nostalgically, that means now and again they keep on remembering their past days, and they tell us what basically happens is, with the help of what happened at that time, they are trying to convey some message to us. Sometimes we do get the message, sometimes we fail to understand the message, right? But our elders are often heard remembering in a way, a very beautiful way, nostalgically, just sticking to their old ways. Yes, heard reminiscing nostalgically about those good old Portuguese days when Portuguese were ruling. We should remember that we got independence in 1947, but Goa did not get independence at the same time. After independence, the Portuguese, the French, they were still present in our country, and then we had to try a lot to liberate Goa from the Portuguese hand, and at last, just like the Britishers, they also left our land permanently and handed over Goa to us. But that happened quite a lot after years after our independence, that is 1947. So the elder people, they were present when the Portuguese were ruling. So they keep on remembering about those days again and again. Yes, they are very fond of doing it. They still don't sit in their modern blend. Yes, so they keep on remembering their past. The Portuguese and their famous loaves of bread. Very, very important thing. Yes, क्योंकि especially आपकी generation, your generation, if I'm speaking about, you just saw that bread slice in plastic packet tied on the top. You just go to the grocery store and you ask for bread, that is what you get. Yes, but that is not how it is baked. Yes, the traditional way of baking breads is done by the baker. He has a great oven, yes, made out of bricks, etc., because he has to bake lots of breads together. So he has those special tools and those specially made molds where he places his dough and then puts that dough in the fire, in the oven, and bakes it. When it is baked, very sweet, a very, very sweet aroma arises from the bakery, and people living in the nearby area, they know, yes, fresh bread is being baked. Yes, so that's the speciality of these hand-baked breads, which came into India because of the Portuguese, because of the French, because of the Britishers, right? So the Portuguese and their famous loaves of bread, that whole loaf of bread, which are then cut into slice and packed and given to you. First, that is a whole loaf that is baked in the oven. So we are talking about the famous loaves of bread. Portuguese, Britishers, French, Portuguese, Spaniards, all of them, they have their different shape and size of bread, the way they make the dough, right? So all of them, they have their own variety of bread to make. Yes, so Portuguese, they are quite famous with their bread. Those eaters of loaves might have vanished, but the makers are still there. Very important sentence. The makers of these, the eaters of this bread. Who are the eaters? The Portuguese needed those bakers, so they brought the Portuguese baker from Portugal country, and because they are the same countrymen, so they were called, especially, and bakeries were established in Goa because the Portuguese people, they can't eat rice and all that, so they needed bread because that was their staple diet, and they loved the bread of their country. So lots and lots of bakers came to settle in India because of the colony, and because Portuguese people, they love their bread every day, morning, lunch, dinner, they have their bread. So now today the Portuguese people have gone, so that is the meaning. Those eaters of loaves might have vanished slowly. Lots of them were still there after Goa was liberated. Yes, those who very well mingled with the population, and even the local people loved them. They knew that these are very kind and good people. So slowly they might also have died by now, right? So the eaters of those bread, they have vanished, but the makers are still there. That is, the tradition has been passed on to the local people. Vanished, but the makers are still there, makers of these Portuguese laws, right? Now, the Portuguese bakers, they might have gone away with their, when their countrymen left India, they also might have gone. But the bakers, they passed on their tradition. Many of the bakers, Portuguese bakers, are still there. But the majority of the population who ate the loaves of bread, they have gone away. So those eaters of loaves might have vanished, but the makers are still there. That means the people who learned how to make Portuguese bread, loaves of bread, they are still there. We still have amongst us the mixtures, the molders, and those who bake the loaves, right? So still we have those people who have learnt that art of making Portuguese loaves of breads. Many Portuguese might still be there, and they are loved by the people, so they didn't go away. They were very good citizen, peace-loving people, so they were allowed to stay, and they were happily staying over there. So we still have amongst us, that means amongst our population, people who might have learned the art of so we have with us the mixtures. Mixtures, that is a trade secret. That is a trade secret. Yes, if something very good is baked or cooked, the ingredients that is mixed, those ingredients that are mixed. Yes, for example, mother makes a very good dish. Lekin agar neighbor ne pucha, she would tell the recipe but miss out something very important, so that what mother makes, the dish, that same taste is not available with the neighbor. Mothers are very clever. Yes, puri recipe kabhi nahi deta, right? So that way, the mixtures, that means the correct contents of the correct amount of ingredients should be mixed. That means the dough should be made. Then it should be, as we discussed, it should be placed in the molders. Molders जो shape loaf का aluminum का होता है, लोफ के साइज का, छोटा बड़ा जितना जैसा साइज है, उसके अंदर वो डो रखना पड़ता है. यस, डो रखने के बाद देन यू पुट इट इन द oven, and those who bake the loaves, that means the baker, those age old time tested furnaces still exist. That oven that we were talking about, yes, that's quite a big oven, right? So rather than telling it an oven, we'll say it furnace, because lots of heat. नीचे बहुत सारा कोल, लकड़ी सब जला के एकदम लाल हो जाने के बाद lot of heat is encompassed in that furnace. That heat helps the loaves to make. So the age-old, time-tested, age-old, that means the bakeries were made quite a long time ago. Then today, even today, they are not using the modern state of the art bakeries that are having ovens and all that. No, they use that age-old, time-tested. That means it used to work centuries ago, and they made it in that way in Goa, and they are still working fine. So it is time-tested. Time has gone by, but they are still working very well. So time-tested. Age-old, that design, okay, it might get demolished because destroyed due to some reason, but we can make yet another one of that same design, because the design is very fruitful. So that age-old, time-tested furnace, whole of that oven can be called a, because it's huge, because of that, that oven becomes a furnace, still exists. That means the bakers still use that old-fashioned type of furnace to bake their breads. The fire in the furnaces has yet not extinguished. It means that the Portuguese bakes are constantly in demand. That is why the fire has not extinguished. That means business has not closed down. People still love those Portuguese loaves of bread and they still demand it, and that is why every day fire is there in the furnace and the bakers are happily baking the bread and the aroma spreading everywhere wherever they take the fresh bread. Yes, when that cyclist pass with his big basket of bread and different material that he has baked, lots of different varieties that he has baked, that aroma spreads around. The thud and jingle of the traditional baker's bamboo, heralding his arrival in the morning, can still be heard in some places. In those small villages in Goa, where there is still that old-fashioned type of bakery, and the baker every morning, without mistake, he bakes the bread early and takes it for sale. How does he take it? He brings it on a bicycle. Tied behind his bicycle is a big basket where he has kept all his loaf, and to announce his arrival he uses some special methods. So these are the two methods: the thud and jingle of traditional baker's bamboo. He keeps a bamboo with him because then when he has to pull up his cycle and he has to make it stand, he uses that to support the cycle, and so that it doesn't imbalance and the things don't fall off. So, and on that bamboo he has lots of small bells tied over there. That is what causes the jingle. When he passes through a street, he keeps on thudding that bamboo on the ground, and because of the small bells over there, it jingles, and everybody in that vicinity or in that street comes to know, yes, it is the baker's time. Run out fast and buy your bread for today. So the arrival of the baker is announced by the thudding of the bamboo stick on the ground, and the jingling of the bell is his announcement. He doesn't have to yell out. Yes, he just has to thud and jingle, and people know, because this is done on a routine way. So people know that he has come, and that can be heard in few places still today. Maybe the father is not alive, but the son still carries on the family profession, right? So, as we spoke in the starting, yes, we discussed in the starting that it has been passed on from generation to generation. Yes, maybe it's not even the original Portuguese baker, right? Because he might have gone away back to Portugal, but he has taught it to some of the local inhabitants. So even now today, what happens, the person who might have originally learned by working with the Portuguese baker, he might have learned all the secrets about making that beautiful and tasty the bread, the loaf of the bread of the Portuguese, right? So the local might have learned it, and today he also might have passed away, but he has given all that knowledge to his son. So today the father may not be alive, but the son has kept up the tradition and carries on the family profession, that is business. These bakers are even today known as pedder in Goa. The Goan people, they are very fond of these bakers who come to street every day in their village and sell their bread in the morning, and whole of the day's bread is bought in the morning, right? So they have given a very fond name to the baker who comes and delivers bread at home. He's called a pedder. So he is very fondly, these bakers even today, they are called pedder, as in the original way they were used to be called. During our childhood in Goa, because we know the author is a Goan, he is a resident of the state of Goa. So he is telling us about himself. During our childhood in Goa, the baker used to be a friend, companion, and guide. When the author was a child. He's talking about his good old days when he was a small child. So he says, in our childhood in Goa, the baker used to be a friend, because it is not necessary that a mother has to come out to buy the daily bread. Sometimes if she is busy, she can send the child also. So children, they happily go, yes, jumping, because today they have been given the task of bringing that bread from the baker into the house. So it is not a question of trust, because the baker, he knows all the children and their household also, so he knows them very well. So he is those children's friend. He is a companion also, right? He might give the child something small extra also without even asking for money. And he was a guide also to tell the time. Why? He used to come at least twice a day, once when he set out in the morning on his selling round, and then when again returned after emptying his huge basket. So he used to pass the street 2 times. Yes, twice a day. First time he used to come in the morning with a huge basket and selling his bread on the way, and then when the basket was over, he used to again take the same route back to the bakery. So he used to travel through that street twice a day. Once when he set out in the morning on his selling round, he started selling it, and then again when he returned, the basket was empty. At that time he went back to the bakery. The jingling thud of his bamboo woke us up from sleep, and we ran to meet and greet him. So because baking the breads early in the morning and selling them when they are still fresh and aromatic, so he would come quite early in the morning, and the thud and the jingling used to wake up the small children who were still in bed. So it was like an alarm working, and the alarm was always on time. The alarm was never late. The alarm was not absent on any day, whether it is Sunday, whether it is Monday, whether it is any festival. The jingling will never stop on time. It will jingle in their street on time, usually the same time every day. So that jingling used to wake up the children, and they would run out happily to meet the baker and greet him, because he was a friend, a companion. Why was it so? Was it for the love of the loaf? Not at all. Buying loaf was mother's work. Our father used to pay for it, right? So it was not our duty. And we know a loaf of bread today packed in plastic, etc. But in those days it was just taken out fresh from the oven, put it in that basket and come to sell. So he didn't pack it in anything. So children were usually not given the responsibility of bringing that bread from the baker into the house. In their childish, playful way, if they dropped a loaf, it would be of no use, because then it will be in the dust and we cannot eat it after it is covered with dust. So was it for the love of the loaf? Not at all. The loaves were bought by some Paskin or Bastine, the maidservant of the house. So usually who came outside? It is either the maid or the servant. Yes, the names are given, Paskin or Bastine. Maybe a maid or a servant used to come out and take the loaf. Sometimes mother used to come out. What we longed for were those bread bangles which we choose carefully. Bread bangles. Yes, very good name given over here. We all know it. That's the donut, but donut of a different make and type, right? Bangle, we know it's round, right? So round also and bread also, so that is donut. But the method of making it or the ingredients may vary. Yes, the look may vary, the taste may vary, but bread bangles means donuts, which we choose carefully, right? one of the most fluffy one. बच्चे हमेशा हम सबसे बड़ा choose करते हैं, right? You ask them to choose a chocolate, yes, they will always look for which has some chocolate, and the chocolate should be big one. Same way you try to ask them for any other food item, they will go for the biggest one. So because it will be quite fluffy, quite soft and more sweet, so they used to choose it carefully. Sometimes it was sweet bread of special make, so sometimes that sugary bread is also available, right? So sometimes he brought that also. Every day he used to change his varieties so that only he brings only one thing, then it's quite boring, right? So he used to change the variety of different things apart from loaves of bread that he used to bring, because children also like lots of bakery item, right? They're quite sweet and they're quite sugary in taste. So instead of bread bengals, sometimes he used to bring that sweet bread, right? Lots of sugar added in it and grounded sugar of some special make. The baker made his musical entry on scene with jang jang sound of specially made bamboo staff. Staff is lakadi, right? But it's quite thick. So a bamboo staff, and on the top of that small bells are tied. So when he bangs that on the floor or on the ground, that jang jang sound comes out of the specially made bamboo staff. One hand supported the basket on his head and the other banged the bamboo on the ground. So either way, right? Because cycles were also there. But if we are talking even before that, then cycles were also not there, right? Usually later on, these bakers, they used to carry those baskets on cycle. Yes, otherwise, as the author says over here, he used to have a big basket on his head, yes, and so one hand is occupied catching it, another hand is free. So with that he used to bang the or hit the staff on the ground, and that jingling sound would come. He would greet the lady of the house with a good morning and then place his basket on the vertical bamboo. That bamboo was a small one, so he would take it off his head and put it on that bamboo, so support, right? Because it's quite big and heavy, right? So he used to greet the lady of the house, that is owner of the house, the lady. He used to greet good morning to her and then place the basket on the bamboo. We kids would be pushed aside with a mild rebuke and the loaves would be delivered to the servant. Right? He is also quite a practical man. He knows that these children will always want something sweet to eat, but then money matters, right? So we would be rebuked, scolded, but in a very gentle way, right? As if not insulting, right? Because he has to do his selling also. So if he scolds in some loud sound, then the lady might just refuse to buy the bread, right? So it's not good for business. So he would, and he was quite a gentle and kind man, so he used to push us aside with a small rebuke, just a gentle scolding, and the loaves would be delivered to the servant. But we would not give up. We would climb a bench or a parapet and peep into the basket. So we also were quite naughty. Now he has that bamboo stick and a basket on top of it. We are small kids, we can't look what is in the basket. So what happens is, then we used to climb up some wall or some parapet that was quite high flooring, that is then, that's called parapet. Yes, and we would climb a bench or a parapet or even on the wall and try to peep into the basket. What are the other things? Somehow I can still recall the typical fragrance of these loaves. Yes, when we love something very much, we close our eyes and that aroma just flows into the air and enters our nostril. That is reminiscing, right? When we like something very much, we sometimes in our dreams also we can actually smell or feel the smell of these beautiful aromatic and delicate delicacies that we sometimes enjoy, right? So I can still recall, now he is quite young, the author is quite he is a youth, he has grown up, but today also he is still dreams, and he still can feel and recall the typical fragrance, that special fragrance which came out of that loaves of bread. Loaves for the elders and bangles for the children. When loaves were delivered for the house, then the children also got a little bit biting here and there. That is those bangles or maybe some sweet bread, whatever variety he used to bring from his bakery. So two things usually got delivered in the house. One is loaves of bread, whatever quantity, 1, 2, 3, and because that has to work for the whole day, so 2, 3 loaves of bread, whatever, and something always for the children. Then we did not even care to brush our teeth or wash our mouths properly. You don't do it today also, so that's okay, children. So when we got that speciality that he had, right, that special typical things that he used to bring, then who cares about brushing our teeth or washing our face? Yes, straight away, right in the morning, from the bed to the baker, whatever he gives, yes, just start eating it. Yeah, wash our mouths properly. And why should we? A very good question. Why should we? Perhaps now you might understand, right? Why should you wash your mouths and brush your teeth, right? So why should we? Who would take the trouble of plucking the mango leaf for the toothbrush? We are talking of the good old days. Yes, when that brush, plastic brush with bristles were not there. Yes, bristles are those things coming out on the with which you brush your teeth. So no brush, no bristles. It was just any twig of the mango or the leaf of the mango. You just pluck it out, and so we do. They over there in Goa, they have that mango tree. Here we have that neem tree everywhere, right? So people, when even today, if you have seen old people walking, they're doing that walking in the morning or going off for jogging. Well, they come back, you just pick up a twig from the neem tree, and that's the healthiest brush that we can have, nicest one. So here also the same thing. In those times, there were no plastic brushes for cleaning your teeth. So parents would ask the children, teach the children to pluck out a mango leaf and clean it with that. So who would take the trouble of plucking the mango leaf for toothbrush? And why was it necessary at all? These are some of the clumsiest things that children hate like anything. Small children, you ask them when they are playing, you ask them to go and have a bath, they'll fight with their parents, especially mothers. They have a very tough time just trying to explain why they should be neat and clean, why they should have their nails cut on time, and why after a lot of play, lots of perspiration, they should have a bath. It's some dumbfounding idea that the elders, they try to push it in the children. Otherwise, children, they don't care, right, about all these things. Of course, we have to civilize them as you are civilized. So at that time, it seems all things are unnecessary. Why to wake up in the morning, wash your face with cold water, then brush and have a bath and all that? Why was it necessary at all? Yes. The tiger never brushed his teeth. Yes, logic given by the children, right? Parents don't have any answer for these things. Yes, there are crores and crores of animals and aquatic वाला तो पानी में रहता है. Yes, brush करने की क्या जरूरत है, right? So that way, simple logic. Yes, we see lots of birds and animals. Do they wake up in the morning, take a brush and clean their teeth, have a bath? No. I'm also a tiger. No need to brush your teeth. Hot tea could wash and clean up everything so nicely after all. A very good logic given by the author. You talk about washing your mouth and cleaning your teeth, brushing your teeth. Yes, when you are sipping hot tea, that hot tea kills all the germs that are present over there, and it cleans your mouth like anything. Yes, so hot tea could wash up and clean up everything so nicely after all. Why should we do, or why should we carry out those routines that we hate really like anything. Next, marriage gifts are meaningless without sweet bread known as the ball. Whenever there is marriage, the ceremony takes place and people are called to dine. Yes, that marriage ceremony is meaningless, or it's worthless without that bread, because that bread, special bread named ball, it becomes a necessary part of the celebration, a necessary part of the ceremony. Marriage gifts are meaningless without sweet bread known as ball, just as party or a feast loses its charm without bread. Yes, because that becomes the staple diet. A special bread, a special type of bread called ball is given as a marriage gift. We also have different type of traditions in our side, western side. You go to southern side, they will have something different. Yes, grains वगैरह कुछ ना कुछ देते हैं, sweet thing देते हैं, so that the meaning is whole of your life remains sweet. You always have grain to eat. Yes, suppose in our parts, when the bride is going away with the groom, yes, तो कार के नीचे हम श्रीफल नारियल रखते हैं, right? So that water and that sweet nariyal will be enough for the journey from her place to the in-laws place. So we all have our customs and traditions. So here also we see in Goan village that ball, that special type of ball, becomes an important part of the marriage, is a gift to the bride. Just as a party or a feast, yes, we go to any party or a feast, we have buffet dinners nowadays, buffet lunches, right? So we keep on searching with that plate in our hand, yes, and we go from counter to counter. Yes, we have our dal, vegetables and those sweet things everywhere. We don't find puri or chapati or parota or something like that. So that feast is of no use if you don't have something that is made out of wheat, right? So here also in Goa, you cannot imagine a party without a bread. Bread is a necessary part of the party. Not enough can be said to show how important a baker can be for a village. So this whole of the baker's life is shown over here as a pen picture or a pen portrait, that baker is a very, very important part of the society. The society cannot do without a baker. The lady of the house must prepare sandwiches on the occasion of the daughter's engagement, right? All of us, according to our customs, culture, tradition, we have some specialities that are made or given to the bride as a gift. So the lady of the house, that means bride's mother, must make special sandwiches on the occasion of the daughter's engagement. This is the part that is woven with the society, in the tradition, custom. Cakes and bolinas are a must for Christmas as well as other festivals. Yes, so a baker is supposed to make not only loaves of bread and other eatables, but he also bakes cakes also. In Christmas, cake is a must. Christmas cannot be celebrated without a cake. Without a cake, Christmas is just not imaginable, right? So Christmas as well as other festivals, all of them are celebrated with bread. Bread comes from cake. Cake comes from the baker. We give him a special a request, or we give them orders to bake a cake for special occasions. Thus, the presence of baker's furnace in the village is absolutely essential. For the village to keep throbbing with action, we need food in our belly to keep working and keep our family happy, lively. And for that, we need food. And for that, we need the baker. So the baker is one of the most important part of the society in a Goan village, and his absence cannot be digested. Yes, he is a must and he should be there. So a presence of a baker's furnace and that sweet aroma of something being baked should be spreading in the whole of the village in the morning or whenever he is baking, and people should come to know, yes, something interesting is being baked, and let us go over there and take home some, and whole of the family can sit together and relish. The baker or bread seller of those days had a particular dress. Now we come to know about the dress of the baker, which is known as kabai. It was a single piece long frock reaching from down to the knees. Yes, it's on the apron that we call. Yes, only thing is it doesn't have any back, so it can be tied and he can protect himself from whatever work he's doing, all the spills and all that. So in our childhood we saw bakers wearing a shirt and trousers which were shorter than full length one, and that has become a tradition, and longer than half pants. Half pants are above knees. Pant is a regular one which goes to the ankle. Now it is something in between. It is longer than a long half pant, that means comes below the knee. So what we call Bermuda. So even today, anyone who wears a half pant which reaches just below the knee invites comment that he is dressed like a pedder. What we call Bermuda, because Bermuda goes just below the knees. So somebody wearing something, half a pant, more than half a pant, which crosses the knee, then the Goan people will surely call him a pedder, because only pedders in those days used to wear this type of pants, which are longer than half pant and shorter than full pant. The baker usually collected his bill monthly at the end of the, so every day he just keeps account, this family took this much, this family, so every day he doesn't have to exchange loaves and money, so he just keeps a note, right? And usually he scribes that on the, with a pencil on the door somewhere, on the wall. Monthly accounts used to be recorded on some wall in pencil, yes, or the baker used to trust the household. Yes, they took 3 breads. So he knows the lady of the house is going to write somewhere, because you know diaries and all that, and it's, things of these days, modern days, right? Otherwise, right? Like yeah. So the lady of the house used to write somewhere in pencil. So he used to trust the household rather than arguing. He used to trust him. Baking was indeed a profitable profession in the olden days. The baker and his family never starved. This is true. That baker will always be robust, rotten, right? Quite good health, and his cheeks will be flushing with blood because we know. Baking was indeed a profitable business in the earlier days because that was the need of the people, and a baker will never starve because he bakes bread and gives it to the people. Then he has a lot of it for himself. So he never starves, and his business is always going. It's not that he has atta, he can make it. Yes, it's not that. His business is evergreen, so he will never starve. He and his family and servants also always look happy and prosperous. That plump physique, plump, that's what I said. Yes. A baker will always be fat. You will never see a thin baker, right? You will always see a plump baker, right? Was an open testimony to the testimony proof. Even today, any person with a jackfruit-like physical round, right, appearance is easily compared to a baker. Pakka baker hoga, ghar ki bread hai, dhanda mast chal raha hai, right? So he would be having lots of it, and is quite prosperous, not rich, but he has enough to eat. He earns a lot because the business is good. So with this, we come to the end of today's lecture. Thank you, students.